The UK has a major planning problem. Our government is known for talking and talking about infrastructure projects, but then never actually building them. Or if they do manage to get built, they get built years late and over budget. This problem is pretty major. It prevents our infrastructure from being upgraded and invested in at a rate that matches the growth of our country. It's the reason why it feels like so many of our previous and present governments have been bickering over projects like HS2 and Heathrow Runway 3, with minimal progress. Meanwhile, France is embarking on a €40 billion metro expansion project. The root of this problem is the massive amounts of bureaucracy that any project has to go through in the UK to get anywhere near approval. It all starts with 3 stages of business cases, which each have to cover 5 points in their analysis. This aims to make sure the projects are actually needed and has a positive return for the taxpayer, as ultimately, they'll be the ones funding it. This sounds good on paper. It prevents taxpayer money from being wasted, but with the complexity of the process, it becomes expensive and timely for the project developers to carry out these business cases. Once the 3 different levels of business cases have been navigated and approved by local authorities, sometimes taking years to happen, they are then presented to the Treasury, who controls the spending of the country, and the relevant body for the process, such as the Department for Transport or Department for Education. Larger projects with a bigger cost or impact, such as Heathrow's 3rd runway and HS2, are also approved or denied in a parliamentary bill, which is voted for in the House of Commons. This sounds simple, but the Treasury is notoriously stingy with spending, favouring short-term benefits to make the current government's approval rating improve over long-term investments, so it takes a lot of persuasion to actually get the project underway with the Treasury. Next stage is the project needing to get successful planning permission. This can be difficult as areas in the UK are protected due to their heritage or nature, which opposes development in the areas. Environmental agencies will also have problems with the plan, even if it is a public transport project that will get cars off the road. Either of these may be a barrier, even if it seems stupid sometimes. If you thought that's about as much bureaucracy as humanly possible, then you'd be wrong, as there is another layer of bureaucracy to get through. This time it's independent scrutiny from organisations such as the Infrastructure and Projects Authority or National Audit Office, who try and improve the value for money of the project and highlight the issues. Then at last, if the project passes all of these obstacles, it can finally begin construction and delivery. However, the current Treasury and government can easily make major changes or even cancel projects that are already underway, without any of the bureaucracy that is needed to approve a project. To you, this might just sound like a lot of pointless paperwork, but to infrastructure developers it takes time and, most importantly, money. It can sometimes cost the developers millions to even get the project approved, which adds to the overall cost and reduces the value of the project, which is important when trying to get it approved by the government. Let's put this into perspective with an example of an infrastructure project, the Portishead branch, a railway running from Bristol in the west of England to the town of Portishead, with passenger rail service withdrawn in 1964 as part of the beaching cuts. Since the 1990s, there's been a strong public support for the line's reopening, but the project has only been approved in the last few years. In 2011, the project was included in a strategic case for a wider project called Metro West that aimed to improve rail transport in the areas surrounding Bristol. This strategic case took years to build, as the local authorities had to prove that a 2-station branch line is nationally significant in order for Whitehall to approve the project. In short, the project is not nationally significant, but that doesn't mean it's not important, as it's significant for the regions it will be serving. So that's our first major problem. We need to realise that not all infrastructure projects are the same size, and they probably don't all need to go through Whitehall's bureaucracy to gain approval, unless they're major projects like the Transpennine Route Upgrade or HS2. Next hurdle were the 3 stages of business cases, first of which was the strategic outline, which was developed in 2014. Next was the outline business case, which was submitted to the DfT in 2017. And finally, the full business case was approved by the DfT and government in 2022. This means that it took 8 years for the business case of a 2-station branch line to be approved, and obviously, 3 stages of business cases leads to more cost for the project. The project then required a special planning application, known as a Development Consent Order, as according to UK planning laws, it is a nationally significant investment, even though it really isn't. The planning permission was granted 2 years after it was submitted, as there were both oppositions to the project, both locally and nationally. Here we have Tony. He's lived 200 metres from the route for the last 5 years, and this is what he has to say.
I will not be able to survive with better transport links near me. This train will ruin my view of the countryside. And they're going to build a level crossing. How will I get to Asda?
As you can see, this is a baloney reason to oppose this project, but the developers of the railway received lawsuits for reasons as comedic as these. The project also received opposition from environmental advocates, such as full-time bat enthusiast Mike. He says,
"If they relay the railway, the bats will not be able to fly, as they'll be scared of the train. Cancel the project immediately and protect the bats."
This is another ridiculous opposition, especially from an environmental advocate, who should really support a project that takes polluting cars off the road in the area. Oh, and I need to add, this environmental claim was supported by the then Transport Secretary, Grant Shapps, which further delayed the project's approval even more. This still wasn't the end. It took until 2022 for the funding to be confirmed by the Treasury. Delivering the project was the West of England Combined Authority, but the Department for Transport and the Treasury were funding it, which made it difficult if extra funding was needed or changes were made to the project. Overall, the project was estimated to cost £58 million in 2014. By 2019, it was £151 million, and by 2022, it was £175 million. This might be a biased example, as the COVID-19 pandemic happened during the planning of it, so the government obviously had to divert most funds to be spent on the pandemic. But it still shows how ridiculous the UK's planning problem is. Are there any solutions? Well, yes, and the future looks promising. July 2025 saw the Devolution Bill introduced in Parliament, which gives Metro mayors, such as Andy Burnham of Manchester or Kim McGuinness of the North East region, more decision-making and spending power in their region. So far, this has led to major changes in some regions, such as buses being brought under local control in Manchester and faster progress on Newcastle Metro expansions to Washington. Metro mayors are also being expanded further. They currently exist in 14 regions, with 4 new regions to receive Metro mayors, which will be elected in May of 2026. So overall, our infrastructure planning and approval system has some major problems, leading to too much talking and not enough building of projects, which drives up the cost of projects and leads to a longer wait time for them to happen. But recent policies such as devolution may hopefully have an impact, but we still have a long way to go. This has been my most politics-focused video yet. If you enjoy politics-focused content as well as transport content, leave a comment and like this video. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to my channel.